Hello! In this video, we'll take a look at Node-RED's built-in version control system. Let's get started. To use Node-RED's built-in version control system, as of the time of this video, it needs to be manually enabled. In order to do that, we need to take a look at the location of the settings.js file. I'm running Node-RED on a Raspberry Pi, but this should work for any operating system you have this on, Mac OS, Windows. When you start Node-RED by typing in node-red, you'll see a bunch of information come through, but what we're looking for is a line that says settings file, which you can see right here. So here's the full path to the settings.js on a Raspberry Pi. On Windows or Mac OS, it'll be different. So we'll go ahead and open another terminal, and we will get to this folder. So we'll do /home/pi/.node-red. And we can see our settings.js file. So here we'll type in sudo space nano space settings.js and press return. We'll scroll down to the very bottom of the file, and this is the line that we need to edit. Underneath where it says projects, enabled, we change this to true. And Command X. Yes, and then enter. So now that settings.js has been changed, we can go ahead and close this. We'll hit Command C here and then start Node-RED again. Once we open Node-RED with the browser, we're now presented with a wizard to configure our initial projects. So we'll just click on Create Project. I'll put my name, project name we'll just call Project 1. Leave description blank. Can leave this flow file at the default, or we can change it if you like. Since I'm only running this locally, and this is only a test environment for me, I'm just going to go ahead and click on Disable Encryption, and then finally Create Project. I'm now presented with a window that says I've successfully created my first project, and click Done. Under the hood, Node-RED projects use Git. If you're not already familiar with Git, I'd highly recommend you spend some time getting familiar with the basics. So now we'll take a quick look at how the project's workflow works and what this looks like. So I'm going to drag an inject node out. I'll delete this. We'll call it inject1. And we'll change the string to inject1. Now I'll click Done, and I'll click Deploy. Now, it doesn't seem to behave any differently, but what you'll notice here is there's now a Project History tab. When I click on the Project History, you'll see this Local Files. And what this is doing is tracking what I'm doing to my flows. And it will track the history of what I've done to my flows. So right now all I've done is added one inject node. So at this point I'm going to click on Stage Change. And after I've staged my change, we'll then click on Commit. And what commit will do is write this particular change to Git's history. Whenever you commit something, you need to enter a message. So I'm just going to say added inject 1, and then commit. This time I'll add a debug node. I'll go in here and call this debug 1. Click on done. And now I'll click on deploy. Now I'll click on stage change. And then click on commit. And for my message, I'll say added debug 1 node. And then commit. I'll introduce one more change, and that'll be wiring these two together. Deploy, stage, commit, added wire, and commit. You don't need to click deploy after every little change that you make, nor do you have to stage your change and commit your change after every time you hit deploy. It's really up to you to balance how far you progress in between each deploy and in between each commit. So now that I've made these 3 changes, I can click on commit history, and you'll see these snapshots that have been made, or as in Git terminology, the commits. So here's my initial project creation. Here's where I added my inject node, my debug node, and then added the wire. So when we click on these different pieces of information, we can see here that we created the project. I'll click on close. When I click on this line, you can see that I added one node and that the node I added was inject 1. Click on close. When I click on this line, we'll see we've added the debug 1 node. And when I click on this added wire, we'll see that when I open this up, my inject 1 has changed, and if I look, you'll see the wires has been added. I'll go ahead and click on close. Now within this GUI, there is no way to go back to one of these snapshots that you've created. It can be done from the command line. Node-RED does allow you some rollback, but you need to use branches. Let's take a look at branches by example. So I'll click on branch here. It says find or create a branch. So I'm going to type in test branch. And then where it says create branch, I'll click this. So now I've created a branch. So now you'll see that I'm in branch test branch. Let's go ahead and add another inject node. And this time we'll call this inject 2. We'll clear that. Put a string. Type in inject 2 and done. We'll deploy this. Now we'll go back to local changes, and you can see here that I'll click on the add to stage my change and then commit. I'll say add inject 2 and commit. Now when we look at our commit history, you'll see that for test branch, you'll see that we've added this inject 2 inject node. Now if we click on test branch, now we can flip back to the master branch, and now we're back to where we were before we made that other branch and those other changes. So you can see the advantage of this. I created this test branch. I've made these changes. So this would work real well in a situation where you've got your flow the way you like it, but perhaps you want to make a change, but you don't want to permanently change the flow as it is now. You can go in add a branch, use the branch, and then make all the changes you want, knowing that once you're done doing your testing, once you feel like, okay, I need to go back to the original, you can easily flip back to the original branch called master and then move forward. This GUI will let you delete branches that you no longer need, and you can do that by clicking on this menu, Projects, and then Project Settings. You can see that there's a trash can icon. We can delete that, delete branch, delete unmerged branch, close, and so now we're back to where we were in the beginning. That wraps it up for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Stay creative.